Welcome, everybody, to the regular Board of Trustees. Are we ready? Sorry. Okay, welcome, everybody, to the regular meeting for the Board of Trustees for Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. Is there a motion to open tonight's meeting? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor. Meeting is hereby open. Trustee Taylor is appearing virtually, and he can participate as he can hear us and see us. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is one that I love to do, and it's going to be the police chief of the day. So why don't I come on down and we can...
How's everybody doing today? All right, so our police chief for the day is going to be Max Phillips. So the Dallas Ray Police Department collaborates with the Dallas Ray School Foundation to raise funds for their charity organization. So in 2022, the Dallas Ray Police Department once again partnered with the Dallas Ray School Foundation to auction off another Chief of the Day opportunity. This charity fundraiser provides Dallas Ray Springer School students a unique opportunity to be a police chief for the day at the Dallas Ray Police Department. Students in grades 1st through 5th are eligible to enter and fulfill their dreams of being a police officer and give them a behind-the-scenes look into their law. Max Phillips is 7 years old and a rising 2nd grader at Springhurst Elementary. Max loves music, mathematics, arts and crafts, and playing with his younger siblings in his free time. When Max grows up, he wants to be a police officer, fireman, or maybe even a mechanical engineer. Max Phillips received Chief of the Day at the 2022 School Foundation Charity Event. And we're just getting through the now, so I'm happy we're doing that. So you guys come on up.
Not today, you're not.
Come down to the police department.
You guys want to come up for a picture?
Sure.
Motion, right? So, in furtherance of the great feelings going on so far, let's keep it going. So, we have appointments to the police department. So, is there a motion to appoint Anthony Muratori as a police officer with the Village of Dobbs Ferry Police Department? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. I hear appointment is hereby made. And will the officer and the chief meet me at the microphone? I have a memo from the chief to, after an extensive search, we identified a candidate who we believe will make an excellent police officer to serve the village of Dobbsburg. This in mind, I would like to recommend for your consideration the following applicant for appointment to the position of police officer. Anthony is 27 years old, born and raised in Portland Manor, where he currently resides. Graduated from Putnam Valley High School in 2013. Attended Westchester Community College in 2013, 2015, Anthony enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and achieved the rank of sergeant. 2019, he was honorably discharged. He was a veteran and served a full duty in service. Upon completion of his Marine Corps service, Anthony attended John Jay College of 2020 to May of 2021. Now attending college at Columbia University. He pursues a degree in political science. Anthony successfully completed all standardized screening requirements, including an extensive background investigation, ability, medical, and psychological training. All of Westchester County Department of Human Resources requirements. So, in light of that, you raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, carry out the duties of police officer, Village of Dobbsburg Police Department, effective July 12, 2023, vested in you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Board of Trustees. I appreciate your support. The department is always fantastic. Valeria. Sheila and your son.
He has it written down.
So, good evening, everyone. Honored to be here, and I thank everyone that's here. This is the second time I've taken an oath, and never felt great experience right now again. I'd like to thank the Village of Dobbsbury, the mayor, trustees, and Chief Rivera for trusting me with the duties of serving the community. From the moment I walked in for my initial interview, I knew this is where I wanted to be. When I went to that interview, I was met with the utmost professionalism, and I could see the passion that permeated through the department, and I cannot wait to get work I want to do. I'd like to thank my loved ones that are sitting here. They have always shown me unconditional love and unwavering support in all of my endeavors, no matter how much. They've been there for me through the ups and downs and twists and turns of life, and I would not be standing here today. I thank you all again for this incredible opportunity, and I vow to strive for nothing less than excellence, because that's what this community expects and deserves. And I promise to uphold the professionalism and exude the same passion, same professionalism and the same passion that I've seen in this department. I look forward to embarking on this journey, and I could not imagine a better place to be than here. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Congratulations.
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 I want a jacket.
Everybody come on up. David Tripp, come on up. Come on. Let's go. Balance it out. Just gotta have the mayor by himself. Congratulations. You start tomorrow, right?
No time like the present.
number 2 is to consider a resolution to appoint police officer Stephen Betts as youth officer to the Village of Doxbury Police Department. The motion to appoint Officer Betts as trustee chairman, second trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Senator Lowry, raise your hand.
No.
I don't think you can hear me.
I don't think the mic is on.
Larry, raise your hand. You just voted yes.
No, I can't hear a
I'm not sure
word
the
that's
mic is
being
on.
said. By the way, I don't think-
Congratulations and come on up.
There we go. The microphone is now on at the podium.
So I also have a memo from the chief that I will read parts of. So Dobbs Ferry Police Department has a long history of positive interactions with the youth of this village. This is mainly due to the close collaboration Dobbs Ferry youth officers have had with dealing with the village's children and adolescents. Whether the youth officers are teaching DARE in Springhurst, posting cops and cones, talking about bike safety or any other topic to keep our kids safe, the main purpose of the youth officer program is to promote positive relationships between law enforcement and future generations of leaders. The Dobbs Ferry Police Department currently has a vacancy in the youth officer position. With this in mind, I am requesting that Police Officer Stephen Betts be appointed to youth officer. Stephen has almost 7 years of experience with the Dobbs Ferry Police Department and grew up in Dobbs Ferry. He possesses an enthusiasm for this job and has become a great point of contact for the Dobbs Ferry School District. Among some of the training that Police Officer Stephen Betts has received is child car seat installation, basic school resource officer course, DARE program, child abuse investigation, and field training officer. He possesses a bachelor's degree in early childhood education from St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. So congratulations. Do you solemnly, that's right, raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York to carry out the duties of youth officer of the Village of Dobbs Ferry Police Department effective July 12, 2023 to the best of your ability? Congratulations again. There's the edge.
Come on up, Mom.
Want to say something?
Yeah, sure. I wish I went before Anthony. It's a nice speech, and congratulations to you too, man.
Very high now.
very high,
You wrote
yeah.
something very good. No offense.
But yeah, so I started this job about 7 years ago, and the chief was a sergeant at the time during my interview, and I said that this was one of the things I was interested in doing. With my background in education, I felt like this was a good role for me. And I'm excited to keep having positive interactions with the community, because that's how you form a good relationship with the police department. And I'd like to thank the board and my family for coming, and coworkers, friends, family, everyone, and just thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I hope to keep making everybody proud. So, thank you.
Also, just real quick, because I would be remiss, and again, Dobbs Ferry Police Department has had some very good youth officers throughout his career, even going back years from former Chief Betsy Gilardi, Detective Joe Ellman, Lieutenant retired Marty Koster, and Sergeant Justin Kamke. I want to thank him because he's actually been the one that's been training Steve over the last few years to bring him up to speed. And I just want to thank you very much. Tremendous asset. Steve was in very good hands, and going forward, we're looking forward to what Steve's going to be able to do for us. So, thank you.
Now is the time, if you want to leave, leave. If you want to stay for the bulk of the meeting, you're welcome to stay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the continuation of a public hearing to consider a local law to amend the Dobbsbury zoning code, clarifying basis for calculating lot size. Is there a motion to open tonight's public hearing? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? The public hearing is now open. I think we left it, you had to get some information from Westchester County, I think.
We did, and it's been, where's the microphone again, right? We did, and we've entered it into the record. It's part of the paperwork that you have before you. The county has indicated that they have no comments, they have no objections, and they find it a matter for local determination.
Okay.
And also, I entered into the record the rest of the procedural information that you had sought, one of which was a referral to the planning board, which is a discretionary referral. You did make that referral. The planning board responded back in an email to me summarized. The planning board recommended the charges to the zoning as it is currently drafted in the proposed local law. This email will act as the record of the planning board's review of the referral, and their discussion will be noted in their minutes.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any comments?
Just to note that there was a question from Peter Hoffman from the Zoning Board of Appeals. It seemed to indicate that there was something that he thought was missing. I don't know the technical aspects of it, but I just, in case I'm the only one who saw that note late this afternoon, there was a question from Mr. Hoffman.
Yes, it was a reiteration of a question he's asked twice in the past, and I did respond back. I assured him that Dan Romer would be reaching out personally to him because in Dan's opinion, and he's here, and he can, I'm speaking hearsay, but in Dan's opinion, the current version of the law before you handles the issue to which he's referencing. And further housekeeping and further zoning code amendments are under review and under consideration and will be brought back to you in a holistic way. Both Dan and Valerie Monastra and myself are working to get a list up, and we'll add any additional comments or requests for more zoning amendments and consider them when we bring the comprehensive list back.
But I just reading his email and reading the draft introductory local law, it is addressed. His question was.
Well, it's not really, because it's finished.
No, I mean, he's asking about.
He's saying that the
impervious and
yeah,
lot coverage. And
the
so
way it's written, it says it's the lot coverage is the amount of building coverage, impervious coverage, or a combination of the two. So I think he's saying that that's the ambiguous part. It's like, when is it or a combination of two instead of always being two, right? Did you hear me, Dan? I think that's what he didn't articulate it that way in his email. I think that's what he's saying, because this gives them the discretion to do either building coverage is lot coverage or impervious coverage or combining them.
Come on
But
up.
they have different definitions.
You know, I think his point was he thinks it's ambiguous for them, and it should be clear that lot coverage always includes building and impervious coverage. I'm not saying that's the right answer. I just think that's what he's suggesting in his email.
I don't know that that's on your mic.
Yeah.
And can you just check it?
It's not on.
It was, you hear?
Yeah.
It was the building coverage and the impervious coverage. I think he missed the impervious coverage part.
But to Trustee Sullivan's point, is it always building plus impervious, or is it
Well,
building
it's two.
or?
It's two. It's the building coverage is a certain percent, and then the impervious coverage is a certain
Yeah, so
percent.
that's,
And both are factored in at all times?
Yes.
Building is by definition impervious surface, right?
Right.
So it's building plus other impervious surface is the area that we're talking about here as a
Correct.
percentage of the total lot area net of steep slope.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very clear.
Yeah.
It's lot coverage, because you could have a site that doesn't have a building, it just is a parking lot, right? So that's why it has, or a combination of the two, because if it's a house with paving and a swimming pool and a garage, you add everything together.
Right.
If it's just a parking lot, well, then you're not adding anything together, so you're just using impervious. So I think this, I don't see any
So that
ambiguity
order
here.
doesn't give discretion to choose one or the other.
Right, I think
That
that would be
or
the,
is-
That's what how it reads to me.
as a
You could
non,
use one, the other.
It
or
reads
both.
to me that it could be the amount of building coverage, and then it says comma, impervious coverage, or a combination of the two. But I wouldn't know, as like a layperson, if that would mean that I would have to add up if there's
Right.
something there, or if those are two separate things and
it seems like it should read like the amount of,
right.
of total building coverage and impervious coverage, or a combination of the two if they're both present.
Right.
Divided by the
Looks
net
like
lot
it's missing
area.
a couple
Yeah.
of words to clarify.
So if we put "and" in there, would that satisfy the situation? Mike, what do you think it's not necessary, but
I don't really know.
Well,
what
if the
impervious-
head of the zoning board of appeals, who is going to make whose board is going to make determinations based upon this language, thinks that there is some ambiguity, we should clarify it for that board.
no, we don't have
he's
to
not a-
clarify, just, sorry, Van.
No, I'm just saying, he's not a lawyer, and we would just clarify, the law is, we would advise him what the law
That's what the
says.
lawyers are for. like,
But,
those lawyers
but given
advise
that
them.
an ambiguity in the code is what led to where we are, it seems like if there is an ambiguity in the code, I agree that it seems like an argument could be made here, because this doesn't clarify that you can't only choose one or the other.
You see an issue, Laura Lee, with adding
Dan?
"and"?
You could even say the amount of building and impervious coverage and strike or a combination of the two. Divided by the net lot area.
Laura Lee, you-
Right, if there's no building, then it's impervious coverage. If there's both.
Right.
Right, if you're.
It
if you're
makes
just
it
doing
seem
one
like you
thing on
can
the
pick.
property, Like Mike was saying, say you're adding a patio, then it's just the impervious coverage, you're not going off building coverage.
if we added the word
Just,
"and," you see a problem with adding the word "and" in there? That make it more
It's-
confusing?
That's confusing, if and in front instead of or.
mean-
I would leave it to Lori Lee and Dan Posen to advise us what the right language is here, but I don't see any ambiguity. I wouldn't never read this.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's up to the lawyers to give advice, but I think that's what the head of the ZBA was trying to say.
Sure, I understand.
That's what his
I didn't
confusion
put it.
is, whether it might, he just needs to be clarified or have a discussion, that's fine. I just want to be clear on the record as to what it is.
So we could leave it as it is, and he could be advised by Lori Lee or Dan Posen that
I see what you're saying, because this is a general term, it's not specific to any measurement, and when it's specified under specific measurements, it would define it differently.
And in some cases, and correct me if I'm wrong, it could be building coverage.
That's
In
it.
some cases, it could be impervious coverage. Or in some cases, a combination of both. Or, so maybe the word
But it can never be-
combination is incorrect. Maybe it
It
should
can never be
say.
one in exclusion of the other.
Yes, it could be.
If there, yeah, if
it could
there's,
if you only had one and not the other.
there's,
Yeah.
no, but they're
Right,
saying,
but
Well,
if you're,
Right.
if you're
If
addressing
the
that,
other
if
is
you're,
null, then it is still a factor, it's just a null factor.
I think it's if you're addressing something that is only affected by the amount of building coverage.
Right.
And not the amount of impervious coverage.
That's what I'm saying.
Then only building coverage would come into account.
That's
So
right.
I think it's the amount of relevant, given the question at hand, building
And
coverage,
and I
impervious
think that
coverage, or
it-
combination of the two.
The word
Given-
combination might be the one that you'd need to address, because you could say, or
Or if applicable.
Or both,
or both.
right, if you just said or both.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Instead of
both.
the word combination, if you replaced it with a truly a calculation that includes both, so the word both, instead of the word combination, might be exactly enough.
Okay, so should we amend this as we go forward with it?
It's really, this is the gentleman who's the key interpreter of your zoning code.
I don't want to pressure you or force you, so we could do this next time if you want to you want to think about it.
Well, I have a question though, because this originally came up because there was not clarity about what it actually meant. So if we're addressing it, I just think we should just have it be as clear as possible for whoever picks this up to understand what it is, because it's a question of adding a word or taking away a word. It's not asking to change whether it's net or gross, and we were just saying that we want it to be real clear, because that's what brought this up in the first place. It was clear to you as an inspector what you were doing, but it was not necessarily clear to the property owners how you were determining it. So we just want to make sure that it's also clear to non-professionals. If they're
So maybe it's better if we just put it over
If you
to
want
next
to
time.
hold it over.
If I could
Well, I
interject
just-
something
you-
here.
It's fine.
The
Hey,
thing
hey,
is, the confusing thing, the thing that he's suggesting, that being
Me
Mr.
being-
Hoffman, does not take into account the possibility that you could have building coverage alone or
Right.
impervious coverage alone. So what you need to do is you need to clarify the word accommodation, and you can do that by saying another word, perhaps a synonym that would be the aggregate of the two.
Great.
Where both exist, sure.
Replace the word combination with aggregate, and that clearly states that you're adding the two together.
But-
Again, it's if applicable, and.
Right, so should we add if applicable, I think is my question.
Okay,
When applicable,
When, yeah.
or both when applicable, or an aggregate when applicable.
Can I make
I'm
a
gonna ask your
suggestion?
opinion.
I think Larry's
Can I-
talking.
Can I interject here? The problem that we had last time was that there was a conflict.
We
in
can
the
hardly
way-
hear you, Larry. Is there any way you can make that louder?
It was written one way, one place, and another place, which is why we had the problem before. I think the intent here among this group is crystal clear. We should just give it to our village attorney and real estate attorney and have them write it so that we can enforce what we want to have happen.
that's what I'm
I
doing,
just think
yes.
it's- all of us trying to write this as a group is not a great practice,
Right.
personal opinion.
So it reads the amount of building coverage, impervious coverage, or an aggregate of the two when applicable.
And you're satisfied with that?
I'm satisfied
Okay.
with that.
Dan, what do you think?
I'm good with that.
I believe that that covers the fact that it can be one, it can be the other, or it can be an aggregate of both,
Combination of,
Okay. And I think we-
divided by the net lot area and expressed as percent.
that was the main part of it, the net versus the gross. It wasn't clear in the code. Now I think it is.
Okay. The legislative intent is clear too, right? So we know what we want to do.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And Mike, how do you feel about that?
That wording or this,
That wording,
I'm fine with that. I
okay.
think it's,
Is the rest of the board okay with that language?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anybody, thank you, Dan. Anybody from the public? Patty? You could have 4 minutes.
You have to
and
have a
take
microphone.
Take a microphone. That one works too, so,
This one works good enough? Good.
yeah.
Okay, first of all, what you were just discussing, building is always part of impervious. So it's not two separate things. You have building which has its own limit on it, and then there's impervious, which includes building. You don't want to make it seem like I can shift things around between the two. That's not the way it works. But let me tell you what I'm thinking, because hopefully you'll give it some thought. This public hearing is for a change to the code, which has been represented as simply intended to make the code consistent. Regardless of the representations made, building coverage and impervious coverage calculations have been based on the actual lot areas of a property without deductions since steep slopes ordinance was adopted in 1989. So we adopted a new code in 2010, but that continued this. It did not replace this. The recommendation you are considering is to add the word net in 6 spaces. The fact is, this is not that simple, and it will have a significant impact on many properties in the village, particularly on those smaller parcels in more densely developed areas. If the goal is to simply clarify the code, then all that would be needed is the addition of the word gross in the definition of building coverage. At that point, everything would align. This would not change the status of the existing properties, but would eliminate any future confusion about the math. The proposed change to net, however, would have a major ramification to many small parcels that are already improved with single-family homes. Many of those properties would be instantly transformed from being compliant to being non-conforming. The suggestion that this should not be an issue for the property owners is not accurate. Their property would become pre-existing non-conforming. Any improvement proposed to those existing properties could then require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Any effort to sell would require a disclaimer that the existing improvements are non-compliant. Any effort to obtain financing on the property would require revealing that the property is non-conforming, which can trigger an increase in the interest rate on the loan. Please consider the following example. This will be quick. 2 properties located on the street, across the street from one another, both in the OF6 zoning district, requiring a minimum lot area of 5,000 square feet, and both houses having a footprint of 1,250 square feet, which is 25% of the 5,000 square feet. This is where 27% is permitted, so they're both a little bit under. The house on the good side of the street is on a lot with a slope from side to side of 14%. This means no deduction for steep slopes. The house on the bad side of the street is on a lot with a slope from side to side of 16%. This means a deduction for steep slopes of 25% of the lot area, resulting in a net lot area of 3,750 square feet. The 27% maximum permitted site coverage for a lot with an area of 3,750 is 1,012 square feet. This means that the bad house is non-conforming by 237 square feet all of a sudden. Now imagine that both owners want to renovate their homes, make good improvements. These are houses that needed work. They've been sitting there for a long time. The people aged out. Now 2 people have bought them and they want to fix them up. They both have decided they want to include a cute little front porch, 80 square feet, something that looks really nice, something that Mike would think is really attractive and helps the character of the street. Maybe. The owner of the good house is fully compliant with a footprint of 1,330 square feet, where 1,350 is permitted. The owner of the bad house, however, would increase their non-conforming house from being 237 square feet over the limit to being 317 square feet over the limit. If you're thinking, well, they could just get, they just need to get a variance. Please understand that the minimum cost of that, with the village fees and escrow, is thousands of dollars, plus time, plus anxiety, plus aggravation. As the board prepared for the EAF, documenting the number of properties that will become non-conforming being released to the public yet? Have the people who live on Briery, Hickory Hill, Manor Lane, Bellwood, Judson, and Bel Air been made aware of how this change may affect them? Does this make sense? Is this fair? And is this really something that is in the interest of the village of Dobbs Ferry as a community? It doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you just repeat the zone that you were talking about?
Which zone? OF6.
The sample, OF6?
Yep. OF6 is 5,000 square foot minimum. Many of those lots were done before 1989.
In the code, in Appendix B, the OF6 is 5,000 square feet of net lot area.
Correct.
It's right there.
Correct. And Dobbs Ferry has most of its 5,000 square foot in OF6s approved before 1989. There have been very few subdivisions done with that. In fact, I'm one of the few that did a subdivision that had the right to do 5,000, and I did instead 8,000 to 9,000 on each of the lots. So the reality here is that most of the people on those smaller lots are people who have bought houses that were built in the 1890s or something like that. Thanks.
Anybody else have anything to say? Anybody online? Okay.
Can I ask for clarification about the issue that we were just editing, or can we defer the edit? Is it true that impervious always includes building? Building is not the same. All building coverage is impervious, but not all impervious coverage is building okay. So that makes me think that perhaps that question of the definition of lot coverage could be made a little bit more clear. We don't have to do it right now. We can defer that to our council, but
I think that
I'm still confused.
I think if the point
And-
of defining lot coverage is to define lot coverage, then it should be the amount of impervious coverage, which includes building coverage, divided by the net lot area and expressed as a percentage. If all building is impervious, you don't need to call out building coverage separately.
right. You do, because it's defined, a building's different than pavement or a pool or something else. So it does have to be defined differently, even though it's consumed in
You have to
one.
have both. Building coverage addresses a different element of the zoning code.
Okay.
So you can, and there's a very specific definition in the definitions. And so I just don't think you can extract it from here.
Okay. I just don't think.
Without having like very broad
Okay,
impacts.
I'm not trying to mess
Number
anything
there.
up, I just think that it continues to be slightly,
But
Unclear,
I'd
but
like
if
to
you
say
don't,
something
then
else,
that's
I think that a few things. One, it's a little strange to me that we have taken this on in the way that we have very quickly, based on, one project that received variance. I think there's a kind of sense that there's a tremendous urgency here, which I absolutely fail to see. There are so many items in the code that could use updating and addressing, and for us to be so focused on this one issue seems out of place. I think that some important issues were raised about the areas of Dobbs Ferry that are dense and hilly, and what impact that will have on a lot of those properties is a very important one to consider. I think that ultimately the reason for addressing steep slopes in a code is to prevent erosion at a rapid rate, and that can be achieved with a very different type of approach to zoning code, and that is about not allowing construction, building on much steeper slopes than the 15 or the 25, how it's defined here. So I think this is a mistake. I think we should allow people, I don't think we should limit people from building on grades that are 15 or 25%. That's not steep enough to exacerbate erosion. I think it's, the number's much higher. So I would really like to see this done in a different way. I think I've expressed that before, so.
This is what the issue is. It's presented to us as a simple bookkeeping issue in essence, right? And then the village planner said it's okay to do, building inspector seems it's okay to do, the Westchester County says it's okay to do. So now we have this, it really is not that to be a bookkeeping issue. I mean, or is it?
I really think the issue here, and we discussed this last time when it was raised, when Mike raised it during the workshop, is we have an ambiguity in the code that's creating an issue at the ZBA. We have an obligation as the board who puts in the zoning code to fix that ambiguity. It's always been interpreted by the building department, at least for the last 20 years, as net lot area. So I think that we should do that. We should fix the ambiguity. To Michael's point, and I guess in part to Patty's point too, if there's a bigger issue for us to be looking at, if this is the right way for the code to be going forward, we should look at that separate and apart for this, but we shouldn't just let the ambiguity lie out there for our homeowners and the ZBA when we have an opportunity to fix it in accordance with how it's being interpreted and is recommended by the building inspector and our planning expert, and then we should revisit it separately and distinct whether it's part of a whole overhaul of the zoning or just looking at the steep slope. That's however we decide to proceed, but that's why it's being done in what might seem like a quick way is because we shouldn't have ambiguities that are out there once they're raised to us, we should fix them.
So the question though becomes, I defer to Michael and to Dan and to everybody with more expertise than I do I have on zoning, but if we were to pass this change and say, oh, but we need to deal with it in a more comprehensive way, what is the triggering mechanism by which we deal with it in a more comprehensive way? When do we do that? And, and under what sort of auspices do we do that? Is that something that is in the pipeline for us to consider?
Yes, it is. It's definitely, me and Valerie have been talking. She's on vacation this week, and I'm meeting next week with her, and we're going to start doing some of the housekeeping in the code. And one of the things is the steep slope.
So, yeah, I spoke to Dan about it. I mean, I've spoken to a number of other people since that last meeting, but that was 2 meetings ago. So we have some understanding about what we think would be, ultimately a better code change. I take Nicole's point. It's a good point. And when you made it last month, I said, okay, fine, let's, that's fine. I'll work on it until we have, when we have something, I'll bring it back. I don't know what that timeline is that Dan and Valerie have for some of their other issues. Hopefully that is,
by the end of the year.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's close this public hearing and vote on it. We can go one way or another. So is there a motion? Excuse me? No. No. You can come up and speak.
James Kybert, 70 Clinton Avenue, Dobbs Ferry, New York. I think the discussion that I just witnessed is invaluable. The discrepancies that we're talking about, they might be difficult to absorb, but they do bring us into engagement with each other, and I think that's valuable. Dobbs Ferry is it's not an easy place to build. We need the difficulty to engage with each other on a project and find out what is the best solution for that project. Just the way I watched this Zero North Mountain Drive go over six or 7 weeks was fascinating. And all the issues were addressed ultimately, and it was very healthy, and it's very healthy for the village to be involved in those things. Just the other day, Dan Romer sat so patiently, sat down with me. My hair wasn't on fire then. He sat with me for an hour. I gotta love the guy to explain what he's trying to do here. And I thought I got it. I really thought, Dan, I got it. And then I went out and I choked. And whenever anything is proposed on the rules of the regs, I get terrified, because no matter how simple or innocent they may appear, your actions over the years have damaged me, my family, my property, my Clinton neighborhood, my community, severely, or should I say grossly. The net performance with regards to the flooding of my property is gross. The net of your irresponsible misapplication of sliding scale to MDRH zone, reducing the yield, devaluing the property by 40% is gross. The net result of the inattention to the misapplication of the sliding scale resulting in an apartment building being approved contrary to the MDRH which says appears as a single family house. It didn't happen. There's an apartment building on Clinton now. But it's valuable for us to have these discrepancies and not have the consistency, because we engage with each other, we meet each other. I hear Michael's thinking tonight, and I'm going, wow, this guy's got something going on there. And I think it's incredibly valuable for the village to not have everything stitched up.
Thank you. We all think Michael has something going on there.
Hair.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. Public hearing is now closed, and I'm going to make the motion that we move forward on this, and we'll see how it goes. So with the changes that Laura Lee has suggested, is there a motion to approve the resolution? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? All right, looks like it fails. Okay, so motion fails for, well, it's just all against? Okay, all
Are
against.
you kidding? They're leaving the ambiguity.
Good job, you guys. Hurry, hurry.
Okay, so we have that ambiguity still existing, and,
No, I'd just like to say though, like, you know, we brought this up like, I think a month ago, and there was time within that period to bring something different if this was gonna get voted down, so we didn't leave the code with
I
an
never-
ambiguity. And I don't mean from, I'm not talking.
I will just say.
I'm just saying though, that I just think that, you know, to Michael's point, we had talked about, I said there's sufficient time between now and whenever we vote on this to fix this to whatever you think is a better way forward for the steep slope. But I think that leaving ambiguity in the code is just irresponsible on this board's part.
And I will say that I did feel very strongly that we needed to address the initial ambiguity, you know, which was brought to our attention. I'm not an expert on this, but listening to Trustee Patino and listening to Patty, you know, give that very, to me, the example was very helpful of the two houses. I need that. I'm not an architect. And so it just seems to me like there's some bigger issues here. So we could fix this now, if that's just what we're voting on, to just fix this, but my concern is that we would fix this and then we would move on to something else, and then something else would happen and we wouldn't have addressed it, and we'll be coming back to it because it wasn't holistic. You know, and once again, this is not my personal area of expertise, and when I hear from architects, it's helpful to me for people who live this so I can understand what it can mean moving forward.
That's the way we discuss and redefine it as like,
Can we talk about this?
yes, I think I provided that to you by email a couple weeks ago, but I just
Can
want to
I-
make sure you had a copy.
okay,
Say something for the record.
fine, yes.
I think, you know, we've heard that the building department is operating as net.
Line.
I'm sorry?
Yes, they are. That's how they have interpreted it.
They have
Yes.
interpreted that way.
Consistently.
This
yeah.
vote does not change that, right? So there is an ambiguity.
Yes, it does change it,
It does
actually.
change that
It does?
point. Go ahead, Larry.
Because the ZBA was unable to enforce.
Can't hear
the
you,
Can't hear
Larry.
you.
Can't hear you.
Can we turn
Sorry,
the
the
volume up?
ZBA was unable to enforce the net measurement because of the ambiguity in the code. That was, I believe, Dan could correct me, or maybe somebody else who might be more knowledgeable, that was the issue with Zero North Mountain. I agree with what Nicole said. I'm in favor of looking at this again and doing it very soon. But it seems odd to say that it's okay to have, it's really a contradiction in the code. It isn't even just an ambiguity.
Especially when our building inspector, our planner, and the planning board all weighed in on it in favor of this change. I mean, they're all experts, in addition to Michael being an architect.
Right.
But
We'll take
it's
another
done,
look at-
so.
We'll take another look at it. We'll change the language to make it clearer. Your neighboring municipality of Irvington does this exact same calculation. They call it site capacity. Maybe we could work on a definition that makes it clearer and provides the guidance to the zoning board that would make them happy.
Yeah, but in the interim, now it's time sensitive because I don't think we can in good conscience leave our zoning code with an ambiguity. So there's time sensitivity to a change now that there wasn't if we had fixed it and done it by the end of the year.
And leaving the exact mechanism to those who have technical expertise, there are ways to.
I can't hear what you're saying, Larry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is there,
Turn the volume up on your computer.
The volume is up all the way, Larry, for us, so we can't hear you for some
Yeah,
reason.
can you hear me any better now?
That's
Yeah, a
better.
little bit.
Okay, all I'm saying is I'll leave to technical experts how to do it, but there are ways to mitigate the steep slope coverage by adding things that take up or compensate for the fact that you're covering more impermeable surface. But anyway,
You need a translator. I can't hear.
There are ways to mitigate for steep slopes, I think is what he was saying, and we can look into it. I think, it's unfortunate, it's super unfortunate that we have this ambiguity, but, if anything, I'm hopeful that now that we understand, even more about it, we can use that as an incentive to all of us to get to that final outcome more rapidly than we might have if we had kind of closed this loophole and just hoped that we got something done by the end of the year. I understand that's challenging, and of course, want to defer to our experts, including our building inspector, who's dealing with this challenge and has to field all these questions. So with apologies for the ongoing ambiguity, hopefully we can proceed with some urgency now that we have to.
Okay. Courtesy of the floor, anybody here for courtesy?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Could you just confirm the vote of the trustees on that?
It was 3, trustee Sullivan, myself, and trustee Taylor in favor, and it was the remaining 4 who were against.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, courtesy of the floor, Patty? Patty, you have 2 minutes since I deducted the 1 minute from the,
Dan is doing it with the net at this point, which, if it comes up, it comes up, and if it's a problem on a project, it can be dealt with, as others have been. There's not, as Michael said, the number of lots in Dobbs Ferry that exist right now that would be a major issue with this is very, very few. And so far, this is the first time, Zero North Mountain was the first time that this ever came up.
okay.
So I don't think you've got any pressing need. You need to get it right. And you do have 2 sections in the code that deal with steep slopes. The 334 is the one that the village attorney was referring to previously, which is what makes you have to have more than the minimum actual number gross for the size of the lot.
Patty, I don't want to cut you off, but we already discussed this, so.
Yeah, but, well,
What's
just
it?
make.
We've already voted on
Got
it.
it again, read the other section of the code.
Okay.
that deals-
I'm sure we'll have a public hearing at that
We've already
time.
voted on it. So if there's any other discussions about this, that's going to have to happen to the next public hearing. So if there's anybody who wants to talk about something else, come on up.
James Kybert, Big Pink House on Clinton Avenue. I just want to say that I have been so impressed with the village over the last couple of years. DPW, the police department, there's a vibe that I'm getting that I love. So thank you very much for that. Amen.
Thank you. Anybody else?
There were things I saw in the fireworks that I had never seen before that blew my mind, and I was so glad.
Okay,
I
thank
wasn't
you.
watching it on
Okay,
TV.
We have a meeting to do. You guys can go home after you talk, but we can't. So anybody else, come on up.
Hello, I'm Bryce Liu. I live on California Avenue. I was just pleased to see that there's some efforts being made regarding the master school, parking, and all that situation. I do want to, and I may be echoing things that have already been said, but I want to urge you as you consider what you do to make sure to take the residents in the area into account, especially not pushing the parking situation from Clinton Avenue onto the main street. It is a lot of people walking, and want to make it safe for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, now we move to action items. Action item number 1, after a long search where we have conducted a nationwide search for a village administrator, where we retained a firm that has sent out ads throughout the nation and prepared brochures, and we've had extensive interviews going on a number of times. We finally have identified a candidate to fill the vacancy in the position of village administrator, and we are now prepared to make an appointment. So now, therefore, be it resolved that in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Code of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, and upon the recommendation of the mayor, is there a motion to appoint Robert Yamuda to the position of village administrator effective July 24, 2023? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Rob, congratulations. Come on up. I'm gonna get that good vibe back, so.
Increase the bandwidth of that.
Only if you end the meeting in 3 minutes, will you get a good vibe back.
Congratulations.
That was gonna be a light attendant, we done already.
You never change your mind. You never change your mind.
Just watching it play out, between the chief of the day kind of thing, it's invigorating. So it just reinforces the fact that I'm making the right choice. And again, I hope to meet and exceed your expectations. Is this okay? I know we've had a problem with the microphone. Just want to mention a few words. Good evening, Mayor Stillo and Board of Trustees. I am truly excited to be here tonight. Congratulations again on celebrating the village's 150th anniversary. That's quite an achievement, and looking forward to the future. And congratulations to the newly appointed officers as well. Again, it's just a regrowth and more rings to the tree. It's wonderful to see. Thank you for selecting me as the Village of Dobbs Ferry's next village administrator. I look forward to working with you and dedicated staff and to serve the village to the best of my ability. I am up to the challenges of this position and will strive to meet and exceed your expectations. So thank you again. And again, I look forward to working with you on many challenges ahead.
Okay, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Go ahead. You can.
My mentor and colleague.
I just wanted to, I came down here to heard a little rumor about the appointment, and I wanted to congratulate Rob, wish him the best. He knows how I feel about Dobbs Ferry. I've known Rob for over 20 years. And Rob, good luck. I think you'll enjoy working in Dobbs Ferry. It's a great community, and I wish you nothing but the best. And if I can help you in any way, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Tom. We also want to thank Richard, because it is Richard's last meeting as the interim village administrator, and we appreciate everything that he's done for us. He's really stepped in twice when we needed him, and he's given up a lot of beach time to be here with us. So we do appreciate everything that he's done. I mean, I've counted on him so much to get things done, and his experience and his expertise. So I personally want to thank you, Richard, and on behalf of the village, I want to thank you for everything that you've done. You've been there for us. You stepped in when we needed you, so thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything more than just thank you?
I don't think you want me.
Whoa. That wasn't quite your welcome.
Listen, Mayor and Board of Trustees, thank you so much for the opportunity. I admire the work that you're doing here. You have a wonderful community, and I think under your leadership and with all the support that you have and that you're encouraging, you're going to get that much better. Wonderful community, and we're all fortunate to have been able to serve here. Thank you.
Thank you again, Richard. Okay, action item number 2 is to consider a resolution authorizing commencement of procurement measures, including competitive bidding for a public works project on Ashford and Storm Streets.
Mayor, I'm sorry. The resolution you have in your agenda is actually incorrect. It's based upon a former resolution which required the DOT to approve revised plans and proposals. So if if you would like to move forward with this, you can eliminate the second whereas.
Okay.
Okay. And any reference to a determination from the New York State DOT. This is a multimodal grant. This is very different than the grant you issued for the sidewalk and streetscape improvements. It's the multimodal grant, which is it's not referenced here, but you know, you have authorized completion of the design, and DOT does not have the ability, or it's not necessary prerequisite to funding for them to approve that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had drafted this in a specimen, and it really wasn't prepared as final, and it didn't seem to get the necessary edits internally.
Okay, so is there a motion authorizing commencement of procurement measures excluding the second paragraph as outlined in our packet?
And reference to a determination from New York State DOT.
Okay.
I can send an edited resolution over once I've obtained the agreement, which I understand is in-house somewhere.
Okay, is there a motion? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 3 is to consider a resolution authorizing submission of a consolidated funding application for the New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant. Richard, can you talk about this, or Laura Lee?
This was a topic on your work session on June 7th, I believe. This is a consolidated funding application under the Climate Smart Communities Grant Program, and this is to seek financial assistance with the ongoing investigation and upcoming projects related to the stormwater drainage to be addressed in the Gold Park Pietro Place flood mitigation project.
Okay, so is there a motion authorizing submission of a consolidated funding application for a New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 4 is to consider a resolution approving the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer. Is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously, and that's it, right? Okay. Trustee Galen, do you have any liaison reports or announcements?
The downtown committee was really proud of everything that they were able to contribute to the sesquicentennial observances and celebrations over July 4th weekend, including the Dine Out Dobbs on Friday night and the Downtown Dobbs Day in partnership with the Chamber on Saturday. We got a lot of, the downtown committee had a table out on Saturday and got a lot of volunteer applications for new folks who would like to volunteer with the village downtown committee and otherwise. And I also want to put on everyone's radar that the downtown committee is looking to have another parking info session for everyone to continue to familiarize themselves with new park mobile system and parking permits. And I know they've been in touch with the chief and with others in Village Hall to ensure that that information gets out in timely fashion, that everyone is aware that those info sessions are happening, so that we can continue to just get everyone up to speed on what is happening with parking.
Thank you. Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes, I want to point out everybody should have received from Liz in your binder, and for everybody at home, on the website and at various locations around the village, there is a flyer giving information around grants that are available for the construction of ADUs or the legalization of existing ADUs. These are potentially quite generous grants of up to $125,000. And I think it's, it's about a year almost, it seems, since we passed the ADU law, and this is the availability of these grants will hopefully give people who are on the fence about building an ADU the financial wherewithal to come to the other side of the fence.
Okay. Trustee Sullivan?
I assume you're going to talk about July 4th, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
You could fill me in when I miss some things, which I inevitably will. Trustee Rosenasher.
I don't have anything from my committees. I just wanted to give a shout out to all the sesquicentennial events. I dined out in Doves, and I went to the sidewalk sale, and we
Rode a
loved
roller
the carnival,
coaster.
and the ceremony for the anniversary, and for the anniversary of the firehouse and everything. It was just a great time to be in Dobbs Ferry, and it was a great surprise. The carnival for me personally was a great surprise and a lot of fun, and it was nice to see people out.
Mike?
The tree commission continues to see sort of lower numbers of applications, which I think just continued evidence of the success of that the tree code. The planning board is just going about its business. We have an upcoming meeting with the CAB next week. I know that we had some, we're waiting on some issues related to a survey and some county things, Lori Lee, and I know we were, I don't know whether we're just sort of waiting on that. This is for the formation of the new park adjacent to Rivertown Square.
Correct. That's the state, it's with the state. We're trying to, yep. As you know, they led us down path 1 and it took 2 years to get there, and now they've decided we have to go back and start with path 2. And we just need to confirm that the property is not within 30 feet the travelway of the sawmill, and so I'm trying to convince them that it isn't, so we don't need another field survey, which would cost thousands of dollars in addition to the time already spent. So I am working on it, and hopefully I can report back with positive things.
That continues to be their focus.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone for the July 4th event, and I'm going to say it once and the last time for the sesquicentennial. So I avoided that word for 6 months or so I finally am done with it. And I just want to thank the trustees for all supporting it, coming out. It was a great event. I especially want to thank Kendra and the rec department for everything that they've done. I also want to thank DPW, Steve Trezor, for everything that he did and the whole department did. I also want to thank Margaret, was invaluable help, so thank you very much, Margaret. You did a great job, as well as Richard and the police officers who were all there and kept us safe and secure. The fire department, congratulations on their 125th, I believe it was, and for them coming out and helping support us with the honor guard. And it was a great event. I also did dine out, and it was great to see. I did the soap opera, so exactly, which Mike and his daughter had an entry on. It was very fun to watch. It was a great event. And again, it was just a great feeling of community, and it was very enjoyable. And I want to thank everyone. The fireworks were great. I got a lot of compliments about the fireworks. I want to thank DJ Rooney for his efforts in his singing the national anthem and doing a great DJ job. So thank you to him and to everyone. It was just a great, great night. It was a great week, actually 4 days. So thank you for everyone for their help and support. And there's nothing further.
I think, I don't know if you guys missed it, but did you think the fire and the ambulance?
Everybody except for the ambulance. So thank you to the ambulance corps for everything they did.
I'd like to say that I thought the ceremony on July 4th, acknowledging the 150th anniversary, was very well organized and very nicely done. I learned a lot of history about Dobbs Ferry, some of which I had heard before, and a lot of which was new, in the symmetry between what they did 50 years ago and what we did to this year was, I thought, really nice and sweet. That a lot of the old town charm of Dobbs Ferry still exists today, and I think even your speech, Mayor, was very good.
Even my speech.
Well,
No, I don't mean it that way.
It certainly bears thanking the Historical Society for their contribution. Robin Costello speaking for, and Kevin Farrington speaking for the.
Frank Farrington.
I'm sorry, Frank Farrington speaking for the Historical Society. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I think that everyone did a great job, including, I know, Mayor, you put a lot of effort into that ceremony and having all the attendees there. And I thought it was nicely done, and you brought the sunshine because it was raining earlier in the day, and the clouds opened up for us. And then I think that the only other thing that we haven't talked about tonight was the downtown advocate position was posted, I believe, right? Yeah. So just to announce that that's open, if anyone's looking for that role, downtown advocate, you can find it on dosferry.com.
Yeah, just to go back, I do want to thank Congressman Bowman for coming down. I understand this is the only event that he attended, so I want to thank him for that. I took him away from his family, so thank you for attending. I want to thank County Executive Latimer for attending. It was a holiday. I appreciate everyone coming down. Westchester Legislator David Imamura, Mary Jane Shimsky, Paul Feiner, our Mayor of Ardsley, Nancy Kabulian, all taking the time out of their schedules to sit with us and join us in the celebration. So I really appreciate them coming to this event, as well as the past village trustees, and Don, the past former mayor, was there. So it was really heartwarming to see those people show up for us, and we really appreciate it. We won't forget it, so thank you. Anything else?
Did you wear the period dress or not?
No.
No.
Oh,
Next year for 151.
And there was not a dunking tank for the mayor, thank you.
oh, shoot.
My husband was wishing there was one for the mayor and trustees.
I was hoping there was pictures, that's all.
Is there a motion to close tonight's meeting? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Roach and Asher.